This podcast is sponsored by RSE Management Consulting, Inc. Richard has been my accountant for 5 years, and our relationship has grown into an incredible friendship. He now serves over 60 members in my business. The firm specializes in corporate tax, financial bookkeeping, and management advisory services for small and medium-sized businesses. His expertise is helping his clients manage the intricacies of tax law and teaching small and medium-sized businesses how to navigate the tough landscape of tax. If you want to hear more, you can go and listen to episode 203. I interviewed Richard on my podcast. The value that he has given to me over the last 5 years to me is truly priceless. He will work with you to create an action plan in order to organize your business finances, which in turn affects you personally in so many amazing ways that you didn't even know. You can email him at reidelberg, REITELBERG at RSEMGTCON.com, or you can call him directly at his office, area code 631-623-2400. You can also visit RSEMGTCON.com to contact and learn more, and we will upload all this information to the show notes as well. Hello, friends. Welcome to Level Up with Debbie Neal. I am your host. There is nowhere I would rather be than right here, right now with you. This podcast is all about leveling up in all aspects of our lives. Thank you for being here. I am so grateful. I'm excited to be on this journey with you. Together, we are leveling up. You ready? Hello, my Level Up friends and family. I am always so excited and so grateful to be spending the next few minutes with all of you. I have a guest on here today with me, and I know you guys have not heard many guests on Level Up with Debbie Neal, and this is going to be extra special. So I have Jordan Adler on here with me. Now, for those of you who have worked with me, for those of you that build with me, you know how I feel about the book Beach Money. It's actually a book that when people get started in my business, in my organization, it's one of the first books I hand them. I love every single thing about it. And so here's where the relationship got personal. I just came back from Bulgaria, not just a month ago, which a lot of you know, and I was invited to speak at a mastermind event. And I went. I am committed to living a yes life. So I was honored. I said yes, and I went with no expectations other than to serve. How can I serve? How can I bring value to the event? And of course, you go. Whenever you go to an event, my friends, you go to serve if you're there speaking, or even if you're not there speaking, you should be going to serve in some capacity because that's what we do for a living. But I learned so much and I grew so much, and I loved Jordan's training. It was very, very good. However, it was so much in addition to the training, his kindness, his humility. I listened. You know, we hear all the time you have 2 ears and 1 mouth. So I would just listen all the time, not to be nosy, but just to conversations. I would hear numbers, whether it's size of organizations, size of, consultants on somebody's team. I love to listen. I love to be a sponge. I love to be around the people that push me and inspire me to be more. And I'm going to share one other thing. I actually did share this on a podcast, but I'm going to share it again because I have him here. He was so kind with his time. I had the pleasure of going out a few meals with him. We really had some fun. We got to know one another. It's one of the greatest parts about building relationships. Of course, in network marketing, but in anything you do. But I came home and I received a package from Jordan with a beautiful mug in it that said grateful and a picture of him and I think it was Marco that was in the picture, that he was behind us in the picture with just a beautiful message. Now, I want to be honest with you. That could have just come to me, could have also gone to 100 people. I don't know, but it's irrelevant. Every single person that you talk to is wearing a neon sign that says, "Make me feel special. Make me feel important." And that's exactly what that did. It made my day. And it just reminded me that the top income earners in the world, they live by gratitude. They live by making other people feel seen and valued and appreciated. And that was just one more lesson. And I was like, yep, I'm ready to level up. He took me to dinner and sent me the grateful mug. I'm like, who's on first here?
And by the way, Deb, that was only to you. It didn't go to anyone else.
But you understand my point, right?
I do.
Whether it was just me or whether it was to 100, that was irrelevant because, one of the things is when you talk to somebody, our goal is to make that person feel like they're the only person in the room.
Right.
And that's the way I felt. And I feel so grateful for that. Thank you. And I'm extra grateful that you're here.
Well, what a joy to be able to meet you in Bulgaria. It was like, it's hard for me to even believe that we've never met.
Right.
But
we were supposed to meet.
Yes, we were.
And maybe I'm a big believer in that's where we were supposed to meet for whatever reason. So I want to give you a formal introduction before we have some fun. And what I love about Jordan too is he's like me. I'm like, I'm not going to send you questions because I don't know what I'm going to ask you. And he's like, well, that's fine. I'm like, great. Some people I could say that to, like, no, I need the question. And nothing wrong with that. I need the questions. I need to prepare. I need to think about it. But I don't like when anybody sends me questions because I want to answer you from my heart. If there's anything you're going to ask me, especially in my profession, that I don't know how to answer, that's a bigger problem, right? And so I just like to just speak off the cup. So Jordan Adler. At 34 years old, Jordan Adler was living in an enclosed garage. His rent was $200 a month, and he had 2 roommates that lived in his house. He carried $36,000 in credit card debt, and his job was paying him $14,000 a year. So kind of do the math. I don't even know if he was making enough to pay the interest. He had tried 11 network marketing companies in 10 years and never signed up one person or made one penny. So the future was looking definitely bleak is probably a positive word in this situation. Yet today, Jordan is one of the highest paid network marketers in the world. And he is the number 1 consultant in his company because he cracked the code. And his best-selling book, Beach Money, has sold over 1 million copies. I feel like I'm responsible for quite a few of those because you get somebody like me. You guys, word of mouth advertising. It's what I love about what I do for a living. When you love something, you're going to tell everyone over and over and over again because you believe there's a benefit. I believe I'm serving people. It's not because you get money and a check. It's because, oh my gosh, you have to read Beach Money. It changed my business. And so 100% of the profits of his book are donated to an organization that helps entrepreneurs in developing countries start small businesses through microloans. He then published a second book, Better Than Beach Money. You guys, I'm embarrassed to say that I didn't even know that till we were in Bulgaria together because I was so focused on Beach Money. And he has been featured in over 100 books and has been a guest on over 300 podcasts. He's spoken on stages with Richard Branson, Tony Robbins, Pitbull, and Brian Tracy. Jordan splits his time between 2 mountain homes, a condo on the Vegas Strip, and of course, the beach. 6 years ago, he decided to get his helicopter license. So that's probably one thing I don't want to duplicate because I don't love flying, especially in small things, but I'm open to learn. And Jordan's message is a message of hope, simplicity, and limitless opportunity. Jordan believes that when you continue to send good things out in the world and treat people right, good things come your way. So you guys can see why I'm excited to have him on here. We think very similar in a lot of ways. And so Jordan, I don't even know where to start, but I just want to hear your story. Our readers want to hear your story.
Well, so am I gonna get to take you up in the helicopter sometime when you come to Vegas?
All right. See, I trust you. I trust you. I feel like I'd go with you anywhere. So if you want to go in a helicopter, I might need to say the Our Father on my way up. I'm just getting closer to heaven.
Have you ever been in a helicopter?
No.
Well, that'd be a really exciting experience for you. It's different. It's different than flying. Yeah, it's great. It's really great. But we'll see. You won't want to jump out or anything like that.
No. If anybody sees me jumping out, it's because you threw me out. I'd have no other option. I have no desire to ever jump out of people like, oh, it's exhilarating, jump out of a plane. No, no.
I had two friends come in from Cleveland, and young guys, and I took them up. And one of the guys, we were in the air for 20 seconds, and I thought he was going to jump out of the helicopter because he was so scared. And so we turned around right away, and within a minute and a half, we were back on the ground. And it was 20 seconds in, he wanted to jump. So, so I let him out and then took the other guy up, and we had a good time. So, but it's not for everybody.
No, if anything, you'd have to say, stay away from me, because when I get scared, I'm a clinger and I'm a very independent person.
No, you don't want to do
like
that. You don't want to do that to the pilot when he's trying to fly a helicopter. No,
you strap me in.
And actually, learning to fly the helicopter was probably the best exercise in personal development that I've ever done. It was extremely challenging, hardest thing I've ever learned to do. And it took a couple of years, and it tested me in many ways. But I'm glad I did it. It was a big challenge. I was looking for a big challenge, and it certainly gave me that. So you wanted to hear my story a little bit? You introduced me with a good part of it. But I've got a degree in landscape architecture, and my dad saved up his entire life so that myself and my two sisters could go to college for 1 year. And we were required to graduate. So I had to work my way through college. I never took out a loan. I was a resident advisor and a night clerk, and I made money, and I paid my college tuition, and my room and board was paid for because I was a resident advisor, and I got my degree. Moved from Chicago to Arizona with $250, a guitar, and a suitcase, and started applying for jobs. And for about a year and a half, I worked in that field, and then I decided it was just a little too sedentary for me. And so there was a lot of building going on in Arizona at the time. This was back in the 80s, and so I changed careers, and I met a guy at the gym whose father was starting an airline. And you probably remember America West Airlines. Yeah, so I was actually the 180th employee at America West, and I worked there for 10 years, a little over 10 years. And we were a startup, so we had a couple hundred people, and we grew to 15,000. They never paid us a lot of money. We had stock options, but the company filed bankruptcy, and we had to lay people off. Anyway, all during all this time, I was entrepreneurial minded. I didn't have any role models or anything like that, but I was very interested in doing something that I could control that would allow me to grow. And it probably came from a book that I read that I picked up at a garage sale. Picked it up for a quarter at a garage sale, and it was called the 10 Napkin Presentations by Don Failla. You probably heard of
I know that book.
Yeah.
It's the 45-second presentation, no? Or is
but yeah, that's the book. So I bought that book at a garage sale back in the early 80s, and I read it, and it introduced me to the concept of residual income and leverage. And so that planted the seed. So when I moved to Arizona and I was working in my jobs in the airline and the drafting and all that, I started jumping into different network marketing companies, and I would do one at a time. I'd get involved with one, and I'd work it for a couple months. I'd get discouraged, and I'd quit, and then I'd jump another one, do that for 2 or 3 or 4 months, get discouraged, and I'd quit because somebody said something negative, or I would be excited about it for like for a few weeks, and then I'd hit a wall, and then I would leave, and I did that over and over and over again. 10 years, 11 companies. And then I was living, as you mentioned, in a rental at 505 West 16th Street in Tempe, Arizona. You can look it up on Google Maps. And I was in the garage part of that house. And I paid $200 a month, had $36,000 in credit card debt on 22 credit cards. My truck, my Jeep was broken down in the street for 2 years, couldn't afford to fix it. And so I was either walking or taking the bus to work for a couple of years. And I joined my 12th company. And at the age of 34, I finally figured out the fundamentals. It's just the fundamentals. I was ready. I'd been listening to audios and reading books and being around people that had done it. I started to meet some people that had actually had success in this business, and that helped my belief. And in my 12th company, on my 10th month, I think it was my 10th month, I was at $180 in income in my 10th month. And by the end of my third year, I was over 40 grand a month. But it was a roller coaster. And there were many, many times that I wanted to quit. And I made a decision consciously that all the other companies I'd been involved in, I would quit before I ever had any success at all. And I just made a conscious decision that no matter how bad things got, as long as the company was still around, I wasn't going to quit. And so I went through the ups and downs. I started signing up about one person, a little less than one person per month. And I met a guy. Do you know the name Russ Devan, Debbie? So Russ, he had a coaching. I think he still does. He had a coaching company for many years, but he was in network marketing. He was a 22-year-old multimillionaire living in this big, beautiful home off McDonald Drive in Scottsdale, Arizona, with a big circle drive and fountain out front. And I met Russ, and I never went into business with him, but he invited me to his home, and I'm sitting in his office in his library. He's in his 20s. He's married with a little baby. This was many, many years ago, over 20 years ago. And he told me that in the business of recruiting, whether it be real estate, insurance, network marketing, or anything else, you need to be prepared to recruit or sponsor 20 to 30 people to find one that's going to do something worth talking about. And so that was the first time I heard that. He said a third of the people are going to do nothing. A third of the people are going to do a little bit. The third of the people are going to do a little more than a little. And one out of 20 to 30 will do something big. And so I set out on a plan. I had a plan when I joined my 12th company that I was going to show it to 3 people per week. I was going to do that every single week, every month for 2 years. Because I thought if I could show it 3 times a week, that would be 12 times a month. And if 11 people told me no, and one person said yes every month for 2 years, after 2 years, I'd have 24 people, which is in the range of the 20 to 30. So my goal was a 2-year plan, showing it 3 times a week. And I still had a job at the time. Didn't pay me much, but I was paying me $14,000 a year at that time. And that was at the age of 34. And so after 2 years, I'd signed up 18 people. And the first 15 did nothing. And so not a thing, they didn't get any customers. They didn't get any distributors. They didn't come to the meetings, nothing. First 15. My 16th person was a woman that you might know, Jackie Ulmer. Do you know that name?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Jackie was my 16th person, and Jackie signed up a woman in New Mexico named Judy Dubiel. Judy was a secretary and a student. I knew Jackie from the airline. Judy started inviting people over, and within 3 years, she had 12,000 distributors and 40,000 customers, and I made my first $1 million.
Wow.
From one person. My 16th person. That happened around my probably 18th month. She joined, and that group took off. And so I was with that company for until they went away. The company it was $1 billion network marketing company that disappeared because there was a change in technology that made our product obsolete. But I was with that company for 13 years and signed up 129 people. So 129 people in 144 months. And that's a little bit less than one a month. And from those 129, I had 5 that grew to 85,000 distributors and 250,000 customers. And I made millions of dollars with that company. And that company went away. And then that was 20 years ago when it went away. And then I joined the company that I've been with now for the past 20 years. And I just did the same thing here that I did there. I just started sharing it, but I started sharing it with more people every day than I did there. Instead of 3 a week, I started doing 3 to 5 a day. So my business grew much quicker. But the numbers are the same. And I imagine, Deb, if I were to ask you, do you know how many people you've personally brought into the business approximately?
Wow. I probably don't know the exact amount of people, but
how many per year, how many per month for the past X number of years?
Well, my first 5 years, I do know that number. I brought in 4 to 8 new consultants every single month for 5 years straight.
That's 50 times 5. That's 250 people. So what you're going to find is that every top earner has personally signed up at least 100. All right. And they've been with their companies for typically 5 years or more, sometimes 3, but most of the time 5 years or more. And 95% of their income comes out of one to four people. So, Deb, 95% of your income comes from how many of your personals? And you said, how many of those people are responsible for 95% of my income?
4 to 6.
4 to 6. And that makes sense with the kind of numbers that Deb's brought in. So with my current company, I've brought in 700 people in 20 years, which is only about one a month, right?
But it's still one a month, Jordan. That's the key.
That's the key,
it's
right?
Still one a month.
And I've got 5 or 6 or maybe 7 that are responsible for 95% of my income. So if you want the formula, that's the code. Like, it's just a matter of showing it enough, figure out what your ratios are, showing it enough to find the one person per month or one person a week or 2 people per month or whatever it is for you for long enough to find the people that are going to do something. And people will come to me, and I know you get this too, Deb, is people will come to us and say, I've signed up 6 people and nobody's doing anything. And they get discouraged and they either quit or they want to quit. And they haven't brought in enough people. And I don't know anybody. I've never met anybody that can change those numbers.
When you think of a successful brand that sells online, like Skims, Bombas Socks, Gymshark, you think of their amazing product or their social media. But what is often overlooked is the business behind that business that makes selling for customers online simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. Nobody does selling better than Shopify because it is home of the #1 checkout on the planet. Businesses that sell more sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout that Bombas uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/levelup, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/levelup to upgrade your selling today. Everything that we just talked about right there, if we ended the podcast right there, that's the key to network marketing. So you and I have 2 very different journeys. I started my business at 36 years old. I was never involved in another network marketing company, but I saw the vision instantly. And I instantly knew if I really want my results in the time frame I want it, I'm going to put my head down. So for me, and people know me, so I had 100 conversations in week 1. And I'm not talking about like I got an answering machine and counted that. 100 people were either excited enough or scared enough to have a conversation with me because I was really, really passionate. And out of that 100, 4 people joined me.
So that's 1 out of 25. So that's those were your numbers in the beginning.
And people are like, oh my gosh, Debbie Neal got incredible results. I go, but they don't see the 96 that said no to me. They see the 4 in my start week that said yes. And every one of those people that I brought into my business did the same thing that month because we set the pace, right? We set the expectation, and that's all that I knew. And that's all that they knew. So we grew very my first, I don't really like to talk about my numbers, but I was doing VP numbers in my start month. And for 5 years, I didn't lift my head up. And there are so many people that think, oh my gosh, you're crazy. Like, oh my gosh, you gave up so much. I still had my life. I still had my family. I still had my friends. People go to jobs and they work 9 to 5, or 9 to 5 is not even a 9 to 5 today. But I knew the math. I knew that most people quit. I knew that most people don't do a lot. I knew that most people love the idea of, but don't want to make that commitment. And so I was like, I need to bring lots of people in. This way I stay in love with what I'm doing, as opposed to focusing on 6. You bring in 6 people, a lot of people. And let's be really honest, Jordan, most people, when they first start, the 6 people they bring in, we don't enroll what we want. We enroll what we're being. Right. So if our belief is not big, and our vision is not big, and our work ethic is not big, and our discipline is not big, then we're sponsoring people like that or less.
Yeah.
So chances are we're not coming out of the gate sponsoring rock stars.
Right. That's
right.
True. Once in a while you get lucky, but you can't lean on luck to have success in this.
No, there is no luck. And I hear people say it all the time. Well, you just got lucky or you started at the right time or luck. People can start today. This is the future. This is the industry. Is it easy? No. Do most people grow to my level or your level? No. But, and legally we refer people to all the earnings statements. We have to. But the reality is for the people who are willing to put in the effort, I love merit-based businesses. I don't want to be told what I'm worth. I want to write. I want to determine what I'm worth. I want to live the life. We're here for one life and no dress rehearsal. And I just want to live a yes life and be able to say yes all the time to the things that I want to say yes to, right? One of the things you talked about in your book, which I love, you talked about the analogy, because this goes back to settling and mindset and raising our expectations. There were so many lessons in this. People think that dogs love bones. We say dogs love bones,
right?
But the truth is
dogs
love steak.
Yeah, they settle for bones.
But they settle for bones. So I'd love to talk about this a little bit.
If you put a bone and a steak right next to each other, which one is the dog going to go for?
Right. When I read that, I was like, wow. I always think, now I give my dog steak too, I've got to be honest. Yeah. But it was so good. And there's so many lessons in that one thing.
Nice. Yeah. Most people settle, like it usually happens pretty young. Like most people start settling based on their beliefs and the environment they were brought up in, They stop dreaming 100%. At a very young age. We're just beat down so much. Whenever we dream, people ridicule us. I had a boss that said to me, her name was Carol Castle. I'll say her name. She used to say to me, Jordan, get your head out of the clouds and get your feet back on the ground. And I live in the clouds today. I fly helicopters and I was a hang glider pilot for years and I soar in my business because that's how I think. And so I would tell her about my dreams and she would be like, you got to get your feet back on the ground and get your head out of the clouds. My paycheck at that point at the airline was under 20 grand a year. And she was my boss. So that's the environment that most of us are in. We're in an environment where people will tell us that we can't have what we want over and over and over again. At some point you just settle, rather than expanding your income to meet your dreams, most people shrink their dreams to meet their income.
You're 100% right. One of the things I talk about when I share my business all the time is somewhere along the line in our adult lives, we've forgot to dream. We forgot to dream. And you ask a child what they want to be, and they might give you some amazing answer. I want to be, an NFL player. I want to be an astronaut, or I want to be a movie star. And they answer like this because they believe that they can be any single thing that they want. But then what happens? We become an adult. We put our dreams in this little box. And instead of designing a life, we end up earning a living. And our thoughts, I love to dream big. I don't even like the word realistic. I love to think outside the box. And, we could touch on the power of the mind a bit because here's what I've learned. And I knew this before I started my business. I did because I was a competitive athlete. If I did something, I gave it every single thing I had. I didn't half-ass much in my life, but we create our reality with our thoughts, right? Because our thoughts create our beliefs. Our thoughts create our beliefs, and then our beliefs create feelings, and our feelings are what's attracting things in and out of our life, and our beliefs dictate our actions. If you don't believe you have what it takes to make $1 million a year, you're not going to take the actions. You're not going to do the things. You're not going to have the conversations because your belief is going to, why take those things? It's not going to be me. I'm not him. I'm not her. I'm not them. And it's our actions that create our future. And so the difference, what I'm hearing is those other network marketing companies. And the difference was you're ready to actually decide no matter what comes your way. I'm going to do this. I'm going to see this through. I remember when I first started, there was a sign on my that I would look at that had $1 million, just 1,000,000. And so what that number represented to me is I was like, I have 4 children. Even if they get great merit, this is what college is going to cost me, at least $1 million. And so every single time somebody quit and I drove hours and nobody showed up and I ate the whole bowl of dip because I wanted to be nice to the person I was like captain of the dip club, all the things that I did. And I would get emotional. I'd be like, what are you willing to do for $1 million? Like, knock off your nonsense and get to work, because so many people want that, but then, they don't do it. And I guess if you want to touch on the mindset piece a little bit of it, because I think that's everything.
Yeah. What was your sport of choice? You said when you were
tennis.
So you were a tennis player.
So I have grandparents that were in, they've passed away. It's many years, but we're in the US Open in Wimbledon.
Oh, wow.
So I had a tennis racket in my hand before most people have a bottle in their hand.
Oh, cool.
So I was taught to play to win, practice to win, expect to win. And that did add a lot of value to my business and to my life.
Absolutely. That's great. Yeah. We were around a swimming pool in Cabo near the ocean. You could see the ocean from the swimming pool. And I was with a group of leaders. There were probably 10 of us around this table with a big umbrella. And one of them asked, why don't more people in network marketing make $100,000 a month? And I started thinking about Orville and Wilbur Wright. The two that it's a little bit of a controversy of whether they invented the airplane. There might have been another guy that did it. They don't really know for sure, but Orville and Wilbur are the ones that got credit for it. And they risked, if you've ever seen old videos of them in their flying contraptions, they risked their life and worldwide ridicule. I mean, there was talk about putting them into an insane asylum because back then nobody had ever flown. No human being had ever flown. And here's these two guys that today, we don't think anything of it. We walk onto into a metal tube that's flying at, hundreds of miles per hour. And we complain because the internet's not working on the plane, and that's where we're at today as a result of these two guys that believed, well, if they didn't believe that they could fly, they wouldn't have risked the worldwide ridicule and they wouldn't have risked their lives doing the work. So it's the same in our business. It's like, if you ask 1,000 people, is it possible to make $100,000 a month? 1,000 random people, maybe 20% of them will say, yeah, it's possible to make $100,000 a month. Now you ask the same 1,000 people, is it possible for you to make $100,000 a month? Well, there's only going to be 2 out of 1,000. 2 out of 1,000 that say, yes, it's possible for me to make $100,000 a month. So they're the only ones that do the work. Because why would you do the work if you didn't believe that you could do it? Why would you take the action? So it really is. And sometimes you have to go through the motions before you believe. You may not believe in the beginning. I didn't believe I could fly a helicopter. No, I didn't believe I could fly helicopters when I started learning to fly. And for many, many, many months while I was doing my lessons, I didn't believe I was ever going to be able to complete it. But I told a lot of people I was getting my helicopter license, and I kept going back. I just kept going back, even though I didn't feel like it sometimes, and I was scared, and it was hard, and I just kept going back. And then eventually, everything kind of wired in, but it took a couple of years.
So I want to sit here and talk to you forever. I'm just going to ask you a couple more questions. I want to be respectful of your time. And just do this when you're like, Deb, okay. What are some top, what?
Yeah, we can go for 10 more minutes.
What are some top tips? Like a lot of people that listen to this podcast, we have millions of, people. What are some of your top tips for network marketing? Like they're out there building this business. They're hungry to learn. They're hungry to level up.
Yeah. Well, first is master the fundamentals. And it doesn't take long to master the fundamentals. It's a mindset game. But you do need to master the fundamentals. And the fundamentals will carry you when you're having a tough situation. So that the first thing is you want to make sure that you're, whether it be online or offline, that you're plugged into a network that allows you to meet new people all the time. You may start with a list of people. Everybody knows, 500 to 1,000 people or a couple hundred people. You start there, but you're going to have to meet new people at some point. And so that's one thing. The other thing is you need to know how to do a simple invitation, how to invite somebody to take a look. You need to be able to present your business, however that's being done, whether it's done through videos or live online presentations or in-person meetings, or you just sitting down with somebody with a computer. You've got to know how to present it, and you learn that. You need to know how to follow up, and you also need to be focused long-term on building building friendships and relationships long-term, because most of the people you share your business with aren't going to be interested right now. They're going to be interested later. And so it's important that you have a system and a process in place for staying in touch with those people in a meaningful way, not just posting stuff on social media and looking for their likes, but actually building a relationship with them, especially the people that you really like and that you would love to be partners with at some point. And some people, it takes 5 years before they come around. I mean, sometimes it's right away. It's only about maybe 1 out of 12 that will pull their credit card out before you're done. And then the rest of them, yeah, me too. The people that ultimately will, I can tell you this, you don't know the people right now that are going to be responsible for the growth of your business. In most cases, you don't. And it may be somebody you meet, and then 2 years, 3 years later, you've built a relationship and they decide to join you. Or it might be somebody that you bring in right away, but then 2 or 3 years later or a year later, this is why it's so important to stay in the game, because you don't know when that person's going to join you. So many people leave and quit and stop before they get a chance to experience any success. So another thing is, don't ever quit on a bad day. You're going to have lots of bad days. You're going to have lots of days that you're going to want to quit. And if you make a conscious decision that you're not going to quit on a bad day, but you're going to work when things get bad, do the work a little bit every day, whether you feel like it or not. It's not about being motivated. It's about being committed. There's a difference. If you wait to be motivated to build your business, you won't make it. You want to have the habits, the commitment, like kids. Let's say you have kids. There's probably many days that you don't want to be a parent in that moment because of what's going on with your kids. But because of your level of commitment, you're a parent, right? So, and it's almost like you have to treat it like that. A level of commitment, meaning that you're going to do the work whether you feel like it or not. And that is one of the qualities of a successful entrepreneur. And it's hard for all of us. I don't care what level you're at. It doesn't matter you take the most successful entrepreneurs in business, and there are many days they don't feel like working. But they do it because they're committed. They're committed to their future. They're committed to their family. They're committed to their team, the team members they brought on board, whatever it is. So it's that commitment that carries them through the game. So master the fundamentals, have the right mindset. The other thing, I'll share one more thing that may be helpful. And I shared this at the event in Bulgaria. I'm up here at my place in Jerome, Arizona. And if you've ever been to Jerome, it's a little mountain town. It's a 120-year-old town. It was a mining town back in the late 1800s, early 1900s. And there's 500 people that live here now. But in its heyday, there were 15,000 people. It's a booming mining town. And I'm on the third level of my home. It sits on the side of a mountain on the way up into town. And right over here, right in front of me, there's a door. And right behind me here, there's a picture window. And I was getting ready to leave for about a month, and that door was open, and a hummingbird flew in. And the hummingbird flew right over to this picture window back here. And I was trying to get the hummingbird out of my house, but he wanted to go through that window, and he was never going to succeed. That hummingbird, if I left, he would end up dead on that windowsill, because he would have gotten so tired trying to get out, he would eventually died on the windowsill. And for 2 hours, I tried to get the hummingbird to go towards the door. And he wouldn't go there. He wouldn't, and he's real fast. You can't catch him. So finally he got tired, and I got a pitcher, and I got him in the pitcher, and I let him out, and he flew away. So just so for those of you that are concerned about him, he's fine. But here's the point. That hummingbird knows how to fly. It doesn't need a flying coach. It doesn't need to learn how to build. It doesn't need to learn how to fly. It knows how to fly. One direction represents struggle and death. The other direction is effortless and leads to freedom. It's no different in our business. The hummingbird's focused on that direction, wrong direction for success. It needs to go that way if it wants to succeed. Effortless, fly to freedom. So if you find yourself struggling, it's probably because you're focusing on the wrong things. Yeah, figuring out, listen to your leaders. Listen to Debbie. Listen to your leaders. They will tell you what to focus on over and over and over and over and over again. But most people still don't. They want to focus on what they're used to focusing on, which is going to ultimately lead to struggle and death.
Because if we focus on the no's, who quit, What's going wrong? I mean, we could find 100 reasons why to walk away. So, as the last thought we're going to leave people, why do you believe this is the best industry in the world?
Well, I believe it's the best industry in the world for many people. Not everybody, but for many people. And I'll tell you why. There's nothing out there that can give you more leverage for essentially no cost. It's like you have the ability to leverage yourself through the work of other people. If you don't have a lot of money and you don't have a lot of time, leverage is the solution to that. And it's about sharing good ideas with people. And what's so cool about it is your company does all the heavy lifting. They do the R&D, they do the research and development and the product development, and they do fulfillment, and they do the legal, and they do accounting and payroll and all that. They do everything for you. The only thing we need to do is share a good idea with other people. And you can leverage yourself. So let's say you have 50 people that are all putting 5 hours a week in. That's 250 hours a week that you get to benefit from, but you might only be putting in 5. That benefit is massive, is the ability to grow something over time that will produce an income stream for you so that you can live life on your terms.
I love this industry because I do want to live life on my terms. I don't want to work for somebody else. And I also love the products I represent, and I'm sure you do as well, but I love building people. I build people for a living. I help other people connect their dreams with their future. I want to know what makes them tick. I want to know how they want to live their life. I want to know how they want to spend their days. And I want to help bring out the potential that's in every single person out there. And to me, network marketing is my vehicle to help other people live a life full of passion and vision and commitment. And what I've learned in this industry is we are a work in progress. And that's where Level Up came from. Our goal and our mission is to level up, to leave people better than we found them, to leave the world better than we found it, to leave a conversation better than we found it, to make an impact. And that's one of the greatest gifts that this business, outside of the earning potential and the time, choices and flexibility that you have the ability to create, and it's the people you meet. Jordan, I really value our time together. It started with a dinner that lasted 7 hours.
That was fun. And looking back, it was fun. It was interesting when it was going on. But
you notice also we didn't complain. No. We were tired. We traveled. I had no luggage. I think I was out in a sweatsuit.
Oh, that's right. Wow. Well, I'm grateful. I'm grateful that you invited me to be on your podcast and be able to say hi to everybody.
Well, I'm really glad. And so where can everybody find you? Where can they follow you? Where can they find you?
Easiest is just to find me on Instagram at Beach Money. Keep it simple. At Beach Money Jordan. If you ever need to message me, you can message me there. And let's connect through Instagram.
And if you guys have not read Beach Money, you need to go and order the book immediately. It's on Audible and Amazon. Thank you. Wonderful. Thanks, Jordan. Have the best day.
Thank you.
Love you guys.
Bye. Thanks.